Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
We're back at you in Gloves Off. I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm here with Grandmaster Larry Ordonio. And we're touching base on Kajukenpo, living in Hawaii, bringing Kajukenpo to Houston, and all that good stuff, and how COVID has taken that moving on. Good morning, GM. You're doing okay?
I'm doing fine, sir.
How was last week with the winter storm that we got hit with? Were you all fine? Everybody safe?
Yes, I was home. First night was fine. I had all the utilities on until the sprinkler system water system broke off on me and turned the main off and all that. But patched it up. Had a generator for backup. The electricity went out for about 20 hours, but I'm good to go.
Awesome. At least everybody's with good health, because there's a lot of people that were affected. But nonetheless, martial arts teaches us to go through everything, especially these hard times, and for us to be calm and collective and move forward. You know, and you can see that with those that have tenure in the arts, they're going to be calm and they're going to go through most. That's one thing of the martial arts. But let's touch base on how did you get started? And how was the involvement? Because being from Hawaiian, and the greats were from Hawaii. So let's touch base. How was it? How did you get involved?
I was very curious and active as a young kid. At 6 years old, I started going down to the subdivision clubhouse where there was always a karate class going on, and I noticed the students in there, and I was very intrigued. But of course, I didn't have the money back then, so I watched from the windows from the outside, and the windows were like 6 feet, so you had to climb up to get yourself adjusted to the window height and watch them. And I liked what I saw. So every day after school, I do my chores and go to the clubhouse and learn. I never stepped in because I was very scared, being shy. And after several months, I knew the form better than some of the students in there. So the Grandmaster or Chief Instructor Kirubin, who was under the late Jaime Abrigana, they were all from the Cha 3. So that's my beginning back in '62. And it was interesting. I loved it. And I started there till I was brown belt, but again, I started from 6 to 15, it's about 9 years or so, but I never got to the black belt initially because they never gave any black belts to 15 and under.
Absolutely. You see, that's what a lot of people do not understand, that Kajukenpo never gave any black belts for 16 and under.
Yeah. It was hard.
Now, going fast forwarding it to Houston gears, how was Houston receptive with the Kajukenpo?
There was one individual that I noticed that had a black belt out of Freeport, but he was not a master or anything like that. So I watched him in tournaments, very, 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 very good at what he did. I started off with the traditional Taekwondo, and I worked myself to push in Kajukenpo. I took my students out of Hapkido and showed them the Kajukenpo way, and they were very intrigued. So I introduced Kajukenpo into my criteria. I started back in Houston in about '89 and held a school there since until the present, shortcoming of COVID-19. Yeah. So
Absolutely. You know, it saddened the loss of not of the school, because the school's actually in the person, right? But the school, because these are, and many schools like yours and many martial arts schools right now are having a hard time, especially with the pandemic, and more so now with this stuff that occurred in Texas with the electricity being shut off and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of old schools that have been around 25, 30 years and so on and so forth, historical schools that I would call that, icon schools of cities, that all of a sudden they're no more. And we need to understand that these schools are the ones that gave forth for a lot of great citizens within our community. You know, maybe not all of them became a black belt, maybe not all of them are teaching, but because of our teachings and the traditions of those martial arts, a lot of great citizens are out there in the community. And thanks to you and thanks to many others, and we have to give back to those schools. We have to say, as a community of Houston, as a community of Laredo, wherever, they should say, you know what? These schools, we have to save them some way, some form. And they're being forgotten. And I say the same thing with the gymnastic schools, and as well as uh, the dance studios, because they help a lot of young ladies as well. You know, martial arts helps young lads that go towards the martial arts in comparison to the dance studios. But these icon academies need to be protected. We can't lose them. We can't.
I agree. I agree.
And unfortunately, society doesn't care about that. And it's sad. It's sad. What do you think now, GM?
Say that again.
I say, what do you think now we have to do in order for folks to survive the pandemic and continue teaching? What needs to change?
The teaching has never changed. I think society is now too soft. I will never change my traditional ways of hard training. And that's what builds good citizens. I don't think the students should dictate what you should teach. They should listen and follow through the curriculum. Because they receive 1 or 2 years, they think they know everything. You don't. Kajukenpo is not for everyone. It's a hardcore, old school that a lot of people recognize. Now these schools, my trigger is always cocked. I'm ready to go. The problem is,
Sure.
It has become, to me, it's a way of life, but a lot of these students, a lot of these instructors now, it's money driven. The old school way is not the dollar sign, because it was taught to help those kids that were troubled in their neighborhoods. So they came in to take Kajukenpo to learn more discipline. So as far as how do you keep these schools or teachers alive, sometimes you have to bow down and go to them and learn and empty your pocket, so to speak. If there was such a place where they could learn without money being the number one issue, you would see a lot of students come in and really learn what true martial arts is all about. Because a lot of schools now, they're a McDojo. You go to the streets and you can't even survive.
No, I have to agree. You're absolutely correct. You know, instructors back then were tested, and black belts were tested, silver gloves were tested. You know, I grew up, as you know, within Savat since I was 6, and at 17 I met my Sifu Kisi, another Hawaiian, and who was from Kajukenpo and as well as from the Parker side. And these guys were rough, you know. You did not, you weren't a student of Keith by choice. He chose you to be a student. Understand what I'm saying? And if
Yeah.
you couldn't make it, he was not going to teach you. And that's just the way it is. And Campo runs in the blood. It's a passion that we have,
Yeah.
you know. And
For the faint of heart.
it's you know, and people say, no, it's because you do Savat. Yeah, I do Savat, but also do Kempo. You know, Kempo, Hawaiian Kempo it's in the soul. It's in the blood.
Yeah.
And like you said, you have to be ready to go. You have to be able to fight on the turn of a dime. When your name is called and it is decided for you to go, you have to go. That's just the way it is. You know, if not, remove your belt and wear a tutu.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's no longer people say you all love you all want to go out there and look for fighting. It's not a fight.
Mhm.
I'll shy away and avoid it as far as I can be. But please don't let me get one in one because I'm going to be the first person that want to get out.
See, the martial arts, you learn these things. You don't learn you don't learn to fight. You learn,
these bone rollers.
you learn to protect yourself, and you stay ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
The tournaments,
Absolutely.
one
You're
facet.
aware.
Go ahead.
You know, competition is one
Yeah.
thing. Competition is one thing. In the ring is another. In the streets, a total different thing. And in the ring is everyday life. You know, it's how you approach things. If you're not aware, then people would of things, you'll be running into objects across the board, into entanglements. Now let's touch base on another art that you have is your escrima, your largo mano.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about the largo mano.
Escrima started back in my father's days. He was in the Philippines, born in 1912. He started in the barrios and part of the northern part of the Philippines, or Luzon, a place called Ilocos Norte. So it was there. His comrade back then was the late Largo Mano practitioner, who also he passed away. So it was Largo Mano. I learned about the same time in the early 1960 at home. There were my oldest brother, and my father would use these long knives, and they would they would do drills in the house where you saw sparks. So I was hiding, but they brought me in under their tutelage. So I started early again, and it's made for battle. There's a lot of Hollywood and a lot of tournaments, but mine is again combat oriented, just like my Kempo. It's all combat oriented, and I stay true to the old school. I mean, I enjoy the Hollywood. Don't get me wrong, but I stay ready, just like my training in the service. You know, I'm sorry, my fabric is old and tattered. It's pretty, and I'm here.
And listen, GM, that's the way it is, and that's what separates the real schools from the McDojos. And people out there need to understand, if you're going to learn a martial art, you can find it in every street corner. You want to learn how to really defend yourself, it takes searching, and you have to shift through all those schools before you can find the instructors, those pearls of wisdom that are still out there. And people need to understand the difference.
Yes, I was able to generate in the early 1990s. I had a maximum of about 30 students, of which 10 or less were black belts on the arnis side, Escrima. It's made to look at target areas of the bodies, yes. And it was not unusual for me to go through a set of rattan in 2-3 days. So it was just a training tool. So hardcore training, yeah. There's no such thing as belts back then, and I do it to show progress in the student. But yes, my training is hard. It's been tested in battle in the Philippines, Japanese prior to World War II. So my father's father was also a well-known escrimador who started back in the 1800s. So my bloodline runs deep, Professor, and I'm just honored to share some of these things with you. There's a lot of people you can take a look at and you can turn right around and walk back out because it's to appease the student. It's the wrong way to look at the martial arts, not to appease the student. It's to teach you self-discipline and protect yourself.
Absolutely.
No?
Absolutely. I want to thank you for preserving and continuing. And I think this pandemic is going to pass by, and I know that Ordonio martial arts is going to come back again stronger than ever. And it's just, we have to help these martial arts schools that are out there, because these martial arts schools have produced many great citizens, and they're just being left behind.
Yeah, I found you, and you found myself, and a brother in many regards. And I'm here to back you up and to help you any way I can. My stick is always at my side, and my wisdom is always there, as I was taught by the late great. So I'm good to go, and I'm just being humble and humble and here to help you and the community if they want to learn. Anywhere from teaching the Homeland Security Secret Service agents to people in the military. I'm still there, and I'm just happy to still have my fingers and with my arthritis, but I'm good. I'm just honored.
GM, once more, we're running out of time. Thank you for what you do. And folks out there, if you're in the Houston area, look up Grandmaster Larry Ordonio and take a lesson to learn to live a new life, new habits in a positive manner. Until next time, peace.
Shaka, brother. See you next time.
Shaka. Bye, bruh. See you.
Bye-bye.